Well, now I'd like to turn to Andy Carrot-Kinney for his Andy's Op Corner. Andy, welcome.
Thank you, Jim. You hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Oh, let's see. Just got to figure out where my program is. Share screen. It's not showing. Oh, here, show all windows. There she is. Knew it had to be there somewhere. Okay, see that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tonight, this is another short program, and it's going to deal with some of the documentation that I've created with the help of others for the operations on the railroad. And first thing that I like to show people, and I think I've shown this here before, is the route system for the Nashville Road, which is Chicago, Indianapolis, Nashville, and Southern, full name. And if you can see, it goes from Chicago and Detroit all the way down to New Orleans. And then this box is an expanded area from Bowling Green to Columbia. And this is the modeled portion from Bowling Green, Kentucky to Columbia, Tennessee, with Nashville at the midway point. Okay, I like to hand these out to the crews when they first come to get an idea of the track design and such, as far as going from one end of the railroad to the other. So this is the Bowling Green sub. It starts at Bowling Green for the model portion of staging, and it goes across to the center portion of Nashville. And then the Columbia sub goes from the center portion of Nashville on down to Columbia, Tennessee, which is the south end of the railroad. It takes 3 decks to go across the railroad. Okay, I've designed the, after working with all the schedule of the trains, and we got them where we wanted them, and they worked out nicely for us. So I went ahead and made these charts for the, or these lists for the dispatcher. And this allows him to see what he's going to be working with. And the green is the north end of the railroad, Bowling Green, and the yellow is Columbia. And you can see, first of all, it's call time for the crews, the direction the train's going. So these are both southbound from Bowling Green. And this is a northbound from Columbia, and so on down. The train ID, we've got the dark, or I should say the bold ones are the timetabled trains, and the others are all extras. The railroad, so the L&N comes onto the Nashville Road at the on the railroad itself, uses Nashville Road main line to get to the main yards in town. So we have the L&N, B&O, and I should probably point out, although I have pointed out before, but this railroad, I used a lot of modeler's license. And the biggest thing I wanted to do was create good operations. So with what we ended up with, we got a good east-west flow and north-south flow through Nashville across the country. And it works really good for operating, but it might sound like the trains are a little far afield, but in reality, they're not. The Rock Island went as far as Memphis, so we just extended it to Nashville. And the B&O went as far as Louisville, and we extended that down to Nashville. So we have the Nashville Road, the B&O, the Rock Island, the L&N that actually was in the Nashville area. Those are transfer trains in and out of the main yards. And also the NC St. Louis, Nashville, Chattanooga, St. Louis, same thing, out of their own staging, uses Nashville Road main line to get into town to switch out with Nashville Road and the Ribo Yard. And then Tennessee Central is the 6th railroad. So a breakdown of the subdivisions, the origination, where they start, termination, and if there's an interim stop. So this is the AM and this is the PM. If anybody has any questions, I have no problem stopping me. Might be easier than going back at a later, later on, try and find out where what we were talking about. Okay, I made these up. They're actually a half of 8.5 by 11 sheet. And we have on this side the Bowling Green sub, and on the back side, so it's a two-sided form. The back side's a Columbia sub. And you can see Bowling Green down to Ribo Yard, and that's the B&O Rock Island Yard. And then from Gresham Yard, which is also in the downtown area, from Gresham on down to Columbia. And you can see the time elements for the different, there's third class, a couple of first class. And basically what we were doing here, we wanted to get the guys used to having to deal with the timetable, as much for staying out of their way or knowing they're going to have to deal with the timetable train. And they're probably more than likely running an extra train, so they have to make way for these guys. So it gives them some experience before we really get into it when we get our passenger train operation going. Okay, I had this made up based on, I think I've told you before, I learned a lot of this from Jack Ozanich. And I think those that know Jack, he's passed away. We really miss Jack. He was a hell of a teacher. He taught us a lot and he loved doing it. He loved people getting into operations. So one of the things is when a train is made up, you have to give specific information. Now each railroad, I should say, modeled railroad, you can do whatever you want, but this is what we're doing. And this was based on Jack, who was a retired locomotive engineer on the Grand Trunk, and he had a lot of experience. So we have a train made up and we got to give the information to the dispatcher, all the specifics on the train. So he can take that information and plot it on his dispatcher's sheet. So this it's info for him, and it's created either by the yard crew, the yard master, or if it's not at a yard, then the train crew would make this up. And we just hand carry it into the dispatcher. We stay off the radio with this because our traffic is so heavy. But you could do it by radio, by telephone, if you didn't have a really busy railroad. So here's one that was made up, it was used, and it covers the sub, Columbia sub, northbound. It's a Nashville Road train, Chicago, Indianapolis, Nashville, and Southern. Train ID is NR26. Lead engine, an L&N 829, and then two more F units with L&N. I should point out L&N actually controls the Nashville Road. It was bought out by the L&N, but still operates as a separate entity at this time. Time on duty, loads and empties. Engineer, I didn't have the engineer. The dispatcher would get that information and put it down. If I had it, I'd write it at the time. The origin is Columbia, termination is Bowling Green. And this particular train is a mail baggage express. So it stops at Union Station. I think it's about a half-hour stop. You can see it on the timetable form. So dispatcher, we're getting into what the dispatcher has to do. I just use one of these school notebooks. And this is a master train log. This is the log of all the orders that the dispatcher gives out. And he does this as he's writing an order. He will write it in this book as he dictates it to the station operator. And the red line means the train has reached this destination, so he can scratch it off the books. Now, this is the form for train order that I use based on what Jack Ozanich used. And here it's a Form 19. I won't get into the forms. I don't know them that well. There's several different forms the real railroads use. There's maybe 2 or 3 that we can use, but Form 19 is the one we use the most. And I've got a couple of them that are written. So this is created by the dispatcher, but it's not written by the dispatcher. He dictates it to the operator. Now, on the real railroad, the operator is the guy sitting at the railroad station or the whatever station it is that the orders are handed to the crew. So the dispatcher writes it in the book, and he writes it in the book right as he's saying it. And the operator is writing it on the sheet right as it's being dictated to him. And then he repeats it back to the dispatcher, and then the dispatcher, repeated at, then it made complete. The dispatcher will write that down at the time he made it complete and the operator's initials. Now, the clearance form A, anytime your railroad is on controlled trackage on main line, not within the yard limits, and that depends on the railroad. We don't use a clearance card for within yard limits, but some railroads do. So this is made out by the station operator. And this information, as he fills it out, the dispatcher, I will show you in a minute, records the information. So this is the little book. It's a 4x6 book that we use, hardcover. We had a stamp made up, so we just stamped these in here. And then for each order that or clearance that's made, the dispatcher will write it in. This was at Adam Station. It's for extra BLE 885 South. Order number 32, no messages. Time made okay at 6:53 p.m. and then the initials. So that's record that will be kept. So here's a train order. This is being dictated to the station operator. So this is Form 19Y. Now, I'm not sure what the Y is. It's been 2 years since we've operated. Now we're hoping to get operations going again here in the next month. But just to cover what they cover is the date. Then it's to conductor and engineer, engine 118 at Columbia. Now, this is not a train yet. This is an engine. Once he's been given the orders and the orders are made complete, then it becomes a train. So engine 118, run extra Columbia to Ribo, and then the initials of the dispatcher. And he makes it complete at 4:15, and then the operator who this was dictated to puts their initials here. Now it's a train. Here is the clearance form that's created by the operator for that train, extra 118 North at Columbia, and the date. I have one order, number 16, and down here they can put nil messages. We haven't worried too much about the messages, but anyways, time okay at 4:17 a.m. Dispatcher's initials, the operator's initials, and this is the information that the dispatcher puts in that little book. Okay, here's another train order. Now, one I want to point out to this, he has information on meets. So again, Form 19Y, train order number, I don't think I pointed out, the other was train order number 16, and that's important. To C&E engine 823, Bowling Green, engine 823, run extra Bowling Green to Gresham, wait extra 169 at Guthrie Junction, wait extra DL 701 north at Adam. And then it's made complete at this time after this is read back to the dispatcher. And again, extra 823 south at Bowling Green, have one order, number 15, and then the okay time. Okay, now register stations, you'll have a register station at any location. This is in dark territory now, which is train orders. You'll have a register station at any location where trains enter or depart the main line. And the reason you have this, you will be given an order to say you're at a junction and you're cleared from the junction after train 705 arrives. How do you know 705 ever arrived? Did it arrive before you got there, or is it on its way? So the way you find out is you look at the register and you'll see the write-ups. The next one is one, it didn't show really good. Some of these pencil marked in didn't show good, but here you can see the train numbers. And although they put some things in here, guys are learning. Green, we don't run any second sections, that would be green. White is white flags. Would be for an extra. A regular train doesn't have any signals. So arrival time, departure time, the engine number, the order number that I showed you, 15 and 16, order number that you're authorized under, and signature of the crew filling it out. And that's it for now. I've got more, but I will do that separately, and that's more in the actual operation, things that the crews have, yard masters have, and such. So that's it for this evening.